At noon, the central hotel reverberated with lively and vigorous voices as Lin Yi's wedding took place there. The hall was illuminated with dazzling lights, as if hinting at divine blessings. The newlyweds on stage were extraordinarily eye-catching, their perfectly fitted attire accentuating the aristocratic demeanor cultivated since childhood in affluent families. It was truly a perfect wedding, if not for the ripple. Standing in this unwelcoming place, Wei Lan felt as if she were walking naked into dawn, her thoughts sluggish. The man she had been with for 4 years suddenly married someone else, citing the reason to Wei Lan. She's pregnant. Wei Lan couldn't help but laugh. Lin Yi, why don't you mention that I've miscarried twice for you? Such dialogue was like a torrential rain, brutal and unreasonable, ruthlessly injuring. It told you that all the happiness you had before was but a bubble, and Cinderella's dream should wake up. As the wedding continued, people below chatted, with the most common topic being marrying because of pregnancy, a double joy. Wei Lan stood among the crowd feeling as if she had been split in half by an axe. She could even hear the bones shattering. She didn't want to be there, but she was pregnant too, with Lin Yi's third child. She wanted to fight for his birth. As Lin Yi gazed lovingly at his bride, Wei Lan rushed onto the stage, the series of actions almost instinctual. With tear-stained cheeks and disheveled clothes, Wei Lan stood before Lin Yi and his bride like a bereaved dog. Lin Yi, upon seeing Wei Lan, looked panicked. Before Wei Lan could speak, she was pulled away by 3 or 4 men who rushed up. They had seen such scenes many times before and tacitly labeled her as a troublemaking woman. Wei Lan lost her balance and fell off the stage, nearly a meter high, enough to take the life of an unborn child. Wei Lan was in pain all over, blood already flowing, but Lin Yi, in front of her, said to everyone, "I don't know her." Just 5 words, yet they scattered like beads, each one resounding. With all her strength, she retorted, "Lin Yi, I'll never forgive you." In that moment, Wei Lan suddenly realized that the love she had once been so devoted to had long turned into nothingness. Is it true that all men are the same, always needing a second chance to become better? But not all women are willing to forgive them. At least Wei Lan wouldn't choose to forgive. Wei Lan is a single mother with a 3-year-old baby. To avoid Lin Yi, she now lives alone in City A. City A is small but beautiful, with flowers planted in every household, much like Dali. Tourism is thriving here, and Wei Lan rents a house to sell some small ornaments. Wei Lan's baby is named Wei Xiao, just like the name suggests. Wei Xiao truly loves to smile. Whenever guests arrive, she is delighted, her mouth upturned, her eyes bright. Guests seeing her also feel good, often praising, "What a lovely child." That day, as usual, Wei Lan tidied up the things in the house, preparing to close early and take Wei Xiao out to plant flowers. Wei Xiao, however, was unusually excited, waving her little hands incessantly, "Mom, someone's here." Following her gaze, Wei Lan looked towards the door and saw Lin Yi standing there. Wei Lan's heart sank. She hadn't expected Lin Yi to find her even here. After so many years, Lin Yi hadn't changed a bit. He wore casual light-colored clothes, neat and comfortable, making him look broad and spirited. Wei Lan used to love his slender eyes and straight nose the most. She had praised him more than once. "Lin Yi, you're the type who looks great in photos." And thus, he remained frozen in a yellowing old photo, forgotten by Wei Lan in the depths of her memory. Wei Lan naturally walked towards the door, choosing to ignore Lin Yi. He called out her name, "Wei Lan," his tone slightly urgent, tinged with a hint of restraint. Wei Lan stopped beside Lin Yi, who took a step back, facing her directly. "Wei Lan, come back with me. Don't endure hardships here." Wei Lan suddenly laughed. "Being with you is the real hardship for me. Why make things difficult for yourself? I said 5 years ago that I would never forgive you in this lifetime." Saying these words, Wei Lan suddenly remembered the unknown and oblivious years, scenes of indescribable bitterness and shame. Lin Yi and Wei Lan were the kind of lovers who were mismatched in status. Wei Lan was an orphan with nothing but her beauty. Having spent a long time in the orphanage, she was already accustomed to compromise. This submissive attitude was also brought into her love life, making her a compliant and sensible girlfriend. When Lin Yi unreasonably bullied her, she would only purse her lips and timidly protest, "Lin Yi, you're being unreasonable again." Lin Yi would lightly laugh, "With you, I've never intended to be reasonable." Wei Lan often thought that if things continued like this for a lifetime, it wouldn't be impossible. She allowed Lin Yi to be unreasonable as long as he didn't abandon her. But Wei Lan, who could never wait for cookies at the orphanage, how could she dare to hope for love when she grew up? Once, she really wanted to eat that cookie, and she really loved Lin Yi deeply. But people change, and Wei Lan no longer likes sweets. Smiling, Wei Xiao still looked at this somewhat familiar, yet somewhat unfamiliar man with anticipation. Lin Yi glanced at Wei Xiao and spoke, "Come back with me for the sake of the child. I promise I'll treat you well from now on." Wei Lan, afraid of Wei Xiao hearing, whispered in response, "Lin Yi, the child isn't yours." Every time Lin Yi came to find her, he would mention the child, so Wei Lan had to helplessly reiterate it. "If it's not mine, then whose is it? Do you have another man?" Suppressing her tears, Wei Lan said expressionlessly to Lin Yi, "Don't you remember? You killed your child. Then tell me, who is the child's father?" I don't know." Wei Lan didn't want to recall anything about what happened 5 years ago. She had almost not made it through. After the wedding, Wei Lan woke up in the hospital, where the doctor told her the child was gone. She went mad, demanding her child from the hospital like a lunatic. "Miss, you've had multiple miscarriages. You must rest properly, or you won't be able to have children in the future. I just want my child." Wei Lan, despondent, really thought about dying. She wondered why the orphanage director had given her such a name, Wei Lan, destined to have a rough life. Wei Lan spent the money Lin Yi had deposited in her card when they broke up, staying in the VIP room of the hospital for a long time. Lin Yi didn't come during this period. The hospital food, bland and light, suited Wei Lan's taste. She would wander around the hospital aimlessly, looking at the cycle of life and death. But what she liked most was listening to the crying of children. How she wished she could have another child. Wei Lan knew about sperm donation, an opportunity that came by chance, from a couple unable to conceive. She made a crazy decision immediately, artificial insemination. She just wanted a child. She couldn't be without a child anymore. This thought gave Wei Lan hope again. But the national regulations required a marriage certificate, putting Wei Lan in a dilemma. Who would be willing to fake a marriage with her? She inquired through various channels, but to no avail. The long and bewildering time continued, and the entire city seemed to be nestled in the silent and ancient castle. The hospital ward was tense, so Wei Lan voluntarily gave up the room and found another place to live. It was a street-side room, with a man singing downstairs. From Wei Lan's perspective looking down, she could see the small braid he had tied and the exaggerated earring on his left ear. He sang well, but received little money, perhaps because this kind of performance wasn't recognized in China. When the man got tired of singing, he bought beer from the nearby convenience store. He placed his musical instruments by the tree and sat on the roadside stone. That was when Wei Lan went down. She was wearing loose pajamas. She brought a lot of money and put it in the man's money container, generously praising him. "You sing really well." When Bufeng saw Wei Lan giving him a handful of money, he was extremely surprised. He carefully examined Wei Lan. Despite wearing pajamas, he could still clearly feel that she was different from others. Her eyes and eyebrows were as calm as the center of the sea, and her presence seemed to slow down time, making even a habitual wanderer like him feel the urge to stop. Bufeng handed Wei Lan a can of beer, and Wei Lan followed Bufeng's example and sat on the roadside, but she didn't drink. She held the beer can in her palms. The moment Wei Lan sat beside him, they were destined to meet. Bufeng was Wei Lan's fake husband. She paid him 50,000 yuan, so he could continue his wandering lifestyle and pursue his musical dreams. "Consider it a loan from me. I'll pay you back." Bufeng left Wei Lan his bank account number, speaking generously, while Wei Lan just chuckled. As Wei Lan's fake husband, Bufeng accompanied her throughout the entire sperm donation process. Wei Lan saw Bufeng signing many documents for her, running around the hospital with her. During this time, he faced criticism from others because any family capable of having children wouldn't let their wife choose sperm donation. Wei Lan felt guilty, but someone like Bufeng, who had experienced ups and downs, wouldn't care about such things. The whole process wasn't easy. Wei Lan was weak, and the survival rate of the sperm in this type of operation was extremely low. But luckily, they succeeded in the end. Seeing Bufeng sitting beside her hospital bed, Wei Lan suddenly felt a difficult-to-express joy rising in her heart. Never before had any moment made Wei Lan's heart so calm. It was as if she no longer feared any storms from now on. This sense of security was given to her by Bufeng. Women are easily moved, especially by men who care for and protect them at their most vulnerable moments. But they still went together to get a divorce certificate and deleted all contact information of each other, as they had agreed before. Bufeng once told Wei Lan, "A wanderer has no heart. He wanders with his lute." As Wei Lan watched Bufeng's figure, she suddenly called out to him and then ran in front of him. "Give me a hug. Really, thank you for giving me hope." Wei Lan just wanted to give a gentle hug and then let go, but she didn't expect Bufeng's hand on her back to tighten slightly, making the hug ambiguous and profound. Perhaps many years later, Wei Lan would forget his face, forget that his originally fair skin had turned wheat-colored, forget his large eyes, forget his love for oversized clothes, forget everything about him. But what Wei Lan wouldn't forget was the brightness he had given her. This light made even the gloomy and damp forest bloom with flowers. However, before she had the chance to forget, Wei Xiao grew up in the blink of an eye. Wei Xiao's eyebrows and eyes awakened Wei Lan's memory of Bufeng. Her daughter also had a pair of large, lively eyes like Bufeng's. Wei Lan really missed Bufeng, which was why she found traces of Bufeng in Wei Xiao. She knew better than anyone that Wei Xiao wasn't Bufeng's child. But who the child's father was, Wei Lan couldn't say. The donor's information was strictly confidential. Now, Wei Lan had experienced some good and bad things, and she had become more open-minded about life. She knew that nobody needed to please anyone else, and nobody had the right to hurt her. Paying attention to and caring for oneself was the most worthwhile truth to adhere to on the long road of life. She was no longer as submissive and compromising as before. She had become calm and firm, even more charming as a mother than before. She was entangled by Lin Yi and had no choice but to bring him to the inner room. Wei Lan lowered her voice and said, "If you can help Wei Xiao find her biological father, I promise to get back together with you." Wei Lan took out the documents from the drawer in the hospital years ago and handed them all to Lin Yi. Lin Yi looked at Wei Lan in disbelief, extremely surprised. She had chosen to use a stranger's sperm. "Wei Lan, I just want to spend the rest of my life making it up to you. Then help me with this matter."
Wei Lan smiled distantly.
Even if Lin Yi had great abilities, she didn't believe he could find anything. It was regulated by the state. Lin Yi looked at Wei Lan for a long time without saying a word. He had begun to appreciate her beauty, but she no longer had room for him. Lin Yi's married life wasn't happy. Whenever his wife threw a tantrum, he would think of Wei Lan, remember how she handled everything properly in his life, remember her gentle words, her charming smile, and her bright eyes. "Lin Yi, are you still thinking about that little lover of yours? Go find her if you dare." Without hesitation, his wife threw the teapot at Lin Yi, hitting his shoulder squarely. Lin Yi remained silent. The pain in his shoulder became sharp. Lin Yi suddenly realized that the kind of life he had become accustomed to couldn't be satisfied by any other woman. There was only one Wei Lan in the whole world. He missed those days with her. He wanted Wei Lan forever and everything she had. Wei Lan left City A again, along with the card Lin Yi gave her. Since then, there had been no transaction records. She didn't believe Lin Yi could find her. City C was bustling with many job opportunities and good educational resources. After sending Wei Xiao to kindergarten, Wei Lan began working. Her online home decor shop had become lively and popular, especially among young mothers. The house Wei Lan rented near the kindergarten served as both her residence and workplace. She handled procurement and delivery all by herself, and she enjoyed it. Sometimes, Wei Xiao would ask her mother, "I told the other kids that my dad is very handsome. Mom, Is my dad really handsome? Children inherit their parents' traits. Since you're so cute, do you think your dad is handsome? Yes, my dad is the handsomest, like the stars on TV. Wei Xiao said as she pointed to the TV. Wei Lan glanced at the TV absent-mindedly and was stunned. Next up, contestant number 26, Bu Feng. The brisk voice of the host sounded. Wei Lan suddenly realized that she had never forgotten his every detail. She thought she had deliberately avoided remembering, but his contestant number coincided with the age they met. Although they had only spent a few months together, he had fed her, helped her wash clothes, and gently stroked her hair and kissed her forehead when she was half asleep. She remembered all these things, every detail. Mom, what's wrong with you? Nothing. What do you want to eat today? Mom will make it for you. The singing on TV continued. Bu Feng seemed to sing even better than before, while Wei Lan in the kitchen was nervous and couldn't even crack an egg properly. What was she nervous about? The man on TV had clearly told her that a wanderer had no heart. Would she still expect him to rule the world and never let her down? Bu Feng had entered the top 10, but he seemed even more popular than the top 3. He was the type of singer with extremely high recognition, both in voice and appearance. The red headscarf covered a third of his forehead, highlighting his large and expressive eyes, long and dense eyelashes, and high nose bridge. His side profile made women jealous, while his frontal view exuded a strong masculine charm. Wei Lan couldn't help but pay attention to news about him and watched as his Weibo followers kept increasing. She genuinely felt happy for him. On his Weibo, she heard the song Wei Lan. May there be a day when the hustle and bustle fade away. Step by step with Wei Lan, step by step is love gained. Wei Lan is where love belongs. Wei Lan didn't dare to confirm if this song was written for her. Many things changed in the blink of an eye, especially in the 5 years they were apart. They knew nothing about each other, but a small flame ignited in Wei Lan's heart. When Wei Lan received the 50,000 yuan, it was dusk, and she was playing with Wei Xiao in the bustling square. The silver bracelet on Wei Xiao's wrist made crisp sounds as it collided with things. After receiving the payment on her bank card, Wei Lan's phone vibrated. She saw a message from Bu Feng with a phone number. This was the number he had promised to give her, and he had indeed kept his word. As the night deepened and the square became more lively, Wei Lan's world suddenly seemed quiet, with only the sound of the bracelet on Wei Xiao's wrist. Should she call him? If she did, what should she say? After much hesitation, Wei Lan saved the number in her phone. With the surname Bu Feng occupied the first position in her contacts. The next day, Wei Lan went to the market to buy groceries. Because she had many things in her hands, she didn't lock her phone after paying with it, and she casually tossed her phone into her bag. When Wei Lan returned home, she saw on her phone screen that she had unintentionally made a call to Bu Feng and talked with him for over 20 minutes. He hadn't hung up the phone. For a moment, Wei Lan was stunned, but she quickly reacted. Carefully, she picked up the phone and put it to her ear, her hand trembling. The call was still connected, but it was silent on the other end. She couldn't help but swallow nervously before softly saying, "Hello?"
Wei Lan.
Bu Feng's clear and familiar voice flowed over the thousands of mountains and rivers to Wei Lan's ear. Wei Lan covered her mouth, feeling a sudden sourness in her nose, unable to speak. It seemed like it had been a long time since someone had called her name so tenderly and distinctly. For the first time, she felt that her name could sound so beautiful. Wei Lan suddenly wanted to ask him if she could listen to it for a lifetime. On the other end of the line, Bu Feng asked again, "Is this Wei Lan?" "It's me." Just 2 words, but Wei Lan was nervous to the point that her heart seemed to leap out of her chest. And Bu Feng on the other end of the phone was no different, afraid of missing the chance. He had waited patiently in the noisy background for nearly 30 minutes. What kind of concentration could make Wei Lan hear his response immediately after speaking? They say wanderers have no home, but for some reason, Bu Feng left his love with Wei Lan and became attached to her. A few days later, Wei Lan couldn't remember what they had said on the phone that day. All she knew was that when Bu Feng stood in front of her at this moment, she still felt like she was dreaming. He said to her, "Wei Lan, I'm back. Fate comes and goes freely, but a casual sentence stirred up huge waves in Wei Lan's heart. In these 5 years, Bufeng had never stopped singing. He traveled to more than a dozen countries, including Nepal, Morocco, and Venice. Languages may differ by country, but his singing remained the same. Along the way, he met many like-minded friends, but they only walked together for a while before parting ways, wishing each other well and going their separate paths. With so many experiences, his voice was full of stories. When Bufeng sang, it seemed like all the understanding of life was contained within. Such a singer could bring tears to people's eyes and had the potential to become a star. Bufeng deserved a better stage. Bufeng has changed a bit over the years. A few years ago, he was more rugged, behaving like a wild man. But now, he seemed to have been carved by time to be more refined and tasteful. Wei Lan suddenly felt a bit nervous standing in front of him. "WL, welcome back," she said foolishly, which unexpectedly made Bufeng laugh. He took a step forward, smiled, and hugged Wei Lan, teasing her further. "Why welcome?" Wei Lan pushed him gently away. "I don't know, because I didn't expect you to come back. If I didn't come back, why would I ask for your bank card number back then?" Repaying the money was just one reason. The other reason was to establish contact. It was also a gamble. If he had the ability to make her happy, he would choose to return to her side. If not, he would continue wandering the world. Only Bufeng knew about this gamble. He didn't want Wei Lan to wait for him. So when Bufeng asked Wei Lan over the phone if she was alone, he was a little afraid. Luckily, 5 years were short, not enough to forget. Among those who got married soon after their debut, besides Bufeng, there seemed to be no one else. He openly admitted in interviews that his song, Wei Lan, was dedicated to his wife, whom he loved very much. The agency was slightly displeased, but there was nothing they could say. From the beginning, Bufeng had stated that he didn't want any packaging. He just wanted to be his true self and create penetrating music. That was his position. Many people speculated about the woman named Wei Lan and her story with Bufeng. Only Lin Yi felt a subtle sinking feeling upon hearing this news. Although there were no photos of Wei Lan publicly available online, Lin Yi had a vague premonition that Bufeng's wife was the woman he deeply loved. On behalf of the company, Lin Yi proposed a collaboration with Bufeng, which was Bufeng's first endorsement activity since his debut. After the shoot, Lin Yi invited Bufeng to dinner. Instead of discussing work, he straightforwardly asked about Wei Lan. Bufeng's hand holding the chopsticks exerted a slight force. Wei Lan had told him about her and Lin Yi's history. Bufeng had felt uneasy hearing it. What kind of despicable man would make a woman undergo 3 abortions for him? Now he finally saw Lin Yi's true colors. Bufeng looked at Lin Yi with a smile that seemed mocking yet sincere. "So, you're Lin Yi. Thank you for letting me meet her." There was no hint of sarcasm in Bufeng's tone. He seemed genuinely grateful to Lin Yi. Lin Yi also stood his ground. "Do you know, Bufeng, I've been with her for many years. Do you think she would forget about me? I don't need to know. All I know is that I love her, and that's enough. Do you know that Wei Lan asked me to investigate Wei Zhao's biological father?" Bufeng honestly replied, "I didn't know. I found out. If I tell Wei Lan the results, what do you think her reaction will be?" Lin Yi deliberately made Bufeng uncomfortable with every word, but unexpectedly, Bufeng remained unmoved. "Mr. Lin, do you know what marriage is and what love is? It's about facing all the challenges together without counting the sacrifices for each other. So I don't need to guess her reaction because I will support and understand any reaction she has." Lin Yi furrowed his brows slightly and hurriedly said, "Of course I know. I love her."
Bufeng suddenly laughed.
He had seen too many stories of cherishing something only after losing it. He really didn't feel like sitting through this meal anymore, nor did he feel like saying another word to Lin Yi. "Oh, then continue loving her," he said politely, standing up and thanking him for the meal. At that moment, Bufeng only had one thought. Thankfully, the event was over. Otherwise, he would have broken his promise. After Bufeng left, Lin Yi flipped the tablecloth, and the dishes scattered all over the floor, a mess, just like his mood. Did he really have no chance left? People generally yearn for a perfect marriage, but the perfect picture cannot be described in just a few words. The union of Bufeng and Wei Lan can be considered the kind of marriage many people aspire to. There is no unreasonable wife or husband indulging in extravagance and debauchery. Having experienced so much separately, they both know how to respect and understand each other. The only worry Wei Lan had after marriage was her desire to have a child with Bufeng, but she had been unable to conceive. Bufeng, Xiaowei has grown up. We can have another child now, she said. Okay, no rush. Let's go with the flow, Bufeng replied. He always had a positive attitude, but their parents were anxious. They weren't too happy when Bufeng married Wei Lan, who already had a child. If they didn't have a child of their own soon, what would they do? By chance, Wei Lan found the premarital medical examination report hidden by Bufeng. She recognized the data on it. Her test results showed that she was unlikely to conceive. Bufeng had been keeping it from her. Why didn't you tell me? Wei Lan asked, tears welling up as she held the report. Bufeng saw the report in Wei Lan's hands, snatched it away, and neatly placed it back in the cabinet. What are you doing with this? Wei Lan suddenly burst into tears. You know, I've always wanted to have a child with you. But we already have Xiaowei, don't we? Bufeng hugged Wei Lan, comforting her in a soft voice. He didn't dare to tell her because he was afraid she would be upset. He didn't know how to make her believe that he didn't care so much about having children. It's not the same. Wei Lan shook her head frantically. She didn't like this feeling, being the perfect Bufeng, yet married to a broken Wei Lan. I don't care about blood ties. As long as they grow up healthy and happy, I will love them. Bufeng paused for a moment and continued, I once donated sperm. It was a few years ago when Bufeng decided to go to the snowy mountains. He suddenly feared he might never come back, so he donated blood, sperm, and signed a body donation agreement with the hospital. A person can only possess the most goodness by approaching death to the fullest extent. But unexpectedly, a year later, Bufeng returned alive, broke, but alive. He met Wei Lan on a bustling street. Now he didn't want to wander anymore, nor did he want to gamble his life with every long journey. He had packed the entire world, the scenery that had shaken and moved everyone, into his heart. From now on, he would live in a different way. Bufeng also enjoyed the warmth of home-cooked meals and neatly made beds. He longed for the sea, but the ship had to return to port, just like a man had to return home. Sometimes when Bufeng rushed back from outside and saw the well-organized home Wei Lan had kept, he felt a sudden warmth. He suddenly felt that marriage was nothing more than two people managing an ideal house together. Their ideals might be different, but combining them would make up for each other's shortcomings and maximize happiness. When Linny found Wei Lan again through Bufeng, she was at the hospital picking up some traditional Chinese medicine to regulate her body. The doctor, a slightly older man, couldn't help but say a few more words to Wei Lan. If only you knew now, why did you mistreat your body so much at the beginning? Wei Lan just listened and didn't argue. I've been a doctor for many years, and I've seen many cases like yours. I couldn't advise them, but in the end, they all regretted it, the doctor said. Lin Yi was standing at the door when the doctor spoke. Scenes from his wedding flashed through his mind, and suddenly, he cried. The person the doctor referred to as mistreating Wei Lan was none other than Lin Yi himself. That's the cruel thing about life. Only after experiencing the pain of loss can one truly understand the meaning of cherishing. Thinking of this, Lin Yi laughed to himself. From now on, he could only leave a shadow of love for Wei Lan. As the poem says, sprinkle a bit of salt on her shadow and scatter it in the sky. When Wei Lan came out, she saw Lin Yi crying and laughing again, looking exhausted. She knew Lin Yi wanted to see her, but she didn't expect him to come to the hospital so urgently. After Bufeng took the medicine from Wei Lan, he instinctively walked to the end of the hospital corridor, giving Lin Yi and Wei Lan enough time. But in fact, the two didn't talk for long. Lin Yi apologized repeatedly, and in the end, he handed Wei Lan an envelope, telling her that after much effort, he had finally found Xiao Wei's biological father. Wei Lan didn't expect him to actually find him. She solemnly accepted the envelope, her heart pounding as Lin Yi continued, "You must be happy." Before Wei Lan could respond, Lin Yi left on his own, casting a deep glance at Bufeng in the distance, his mind swirling with thoughts. Lin Yi had already seen the contents of the documents beforehand, and he hesitated for a long time before deciding to give them to Wei Lan. Perhaps he didn't lose to the fate of Wei Lan and Bufeng, but to the mutual appreciation they had for each other in their marriage. From then on, Lin Yi's world was illuminated by the moon, while Wei Lan remained calm as a still lake. They had never really intersected. Wei Lan lowered her head, stroking the patterns on the envelope, undid the button on the thin thread, and took out the stack of documents inside. She first saw the familiar number, then the name that shocked her deeply, Bufeng. As she flipped through the pages, Bufeng happened to walk to her side, and his name suddenly caught his eye. Wei Lan grabbed Bufeng's sleeve, confirming with excitement in her voice, "It seems to be you." Bufeng then hugged Wei Lan, his smile widening. "Yes, it's me." If it weren't for Bufeng's kindness 7 years ago, how could this coincidence have happened? If it weren't for Lin Yi's abandonment back then, how would Wei Lan know that she would be so happy in the future? If Wei Lan hadn't been so persistent about Bufeng, where would this warmth come from at this moment? Life is like a series of interconnected rings, and there is always one ring that receives the grace of heaven. With each step of the heart like ripples, may Wei Lan bear the night breeze in her heart.